guess my first question, and I'm Marcus with that Nerd Show, is I know you're talking about a failing education system, but are you trying to make a political statement coming into an election year?
Not a partisan one. I mean, our position is both parties have worked systematically the last 30 years to screw up education. There's a lot of blame to go around. We didn't plan it this way, but we think that this film is going to help shape, our hope is, it helps shape the discussion leading into this presidential cycle. If you have presidential candidates that are getting up and they're advocating fixing education,
right,
and their metric for how well they're doing in fixing education is just higher test scores, that should be a key to voters that they have not thought deeply enough about this issue of education.
What would you say is the biggest problem? Because I have a mother who's a school teacher who's always telling me that it's always administration not backing up teachers and not holding students accountable, and they can get away with anything.
I think the biggest problem is what we insist kids do in the classroom. You know, it really doesn't have that much to do anymore with what's important in life. And so you can do a great job or a poor job of having kids do something esoteric they'll never use. I mean, let's take an example. Every kid in high school takes chemistry. You know,
right.
0.1% of the population is ever going to use it. I'm not against or for chemistry, but I'm against memorizing chemistry equations you can get within 12 seconds. And so, you know, that's one example. But over and over, kids are being driven to do things that they forget within hours.
So am I, because I was bad at it.
Yeah. But you have to ask is, would you rather have a kid spend time on public speaking or on, you know, memorizing some biology term?
Or the periodic table.
Yeah.
So are you saying that the education system should be more like preparing you for a trade that you're going to be good at? Like, I mean, if you are good with your hands or more mechanical, you should be like in a mechanics class or a wood shop or something along those lines?
I would, that might be too big of a reduction.
Okay.
I think, and Ted, you tell me if you would disagree, but in our 2 years of looking at this subject, I think what we need to do is find ways to tap kids where they're passionate, meet them where they are, find things that they love, and then they'll be like sponges. They will be so hungry to learn chemistry if it's in the service of a project that they are really bent on accomplishing, or bent on finishing. And so we found this school in San Diego that sort of has designed a curriculum based on that premise. You can get kids excited about a particular assignment that's meeting them where they are, so to speak. They'll learn anything.
Is this school a public school?
Public school.
How do they get around from, you know, the state determining what the education system should be?
Well, that's an administrative choice.
Oh, okay.
The state will set standards, and then they'll administer tests. But a principal can say, for instance, this principal we found in San Diego just said, we'll ignore those tests. We're going to take them, we have to turn them in, but don't worry about them. Don't teach to them. You design a curriculum that you feel best prepares kids for the world that they're going to inherit. And I'm going to back you up. If I'm looking at the work your kids are doing and it's quality work, I'm not going to care what they're doing on these tests or whether you're teaching to those tests. In fact, at this school, they're strictly prohibited to teach to those tests. Where we get into trouble is we tell teachers that we're going to tie their pay to those standardized tests. Teachers and administrators start focusing their whole curriculum on teaching to those tests, and those tests are measuring the wrong skills. So now you've got, and teachers know this, I mean, your mom knows this, if she's having to teach to a particular test, and it's largely measuring a kid's ability to memorize content. Well, the ability to memorize content is not a very useful skill in the 21st century. So that's a bad test.
What made you want to do this film? Were you both teachers? What got you into it?
No, I spent my career in venture capital, so I backed the top entrepreneurs in the country. And what I observed is that first, advances in technology are getting rid of lots and lots of jobs. And so the jobs that remain, the paths forward that remain are paths that require creativity and innovation. And that's essentially what schools drill out of kids. So it felt like if the one thing that is the life raft you can use to get by in the 21st century is what the schools are sinking, you know, we're in big trouble. So that's was sort of how we got going on this project.
Interesting. Can you highlight any examples of things that, good things that teachers are doing besides getting away from standardized tests and all that? I mean,
well, I think one of the best things that you could do in a particular school is to give teachers the autonomy and the freedom to create a curriculum that's customized for their individual students. One of the worst things that you can do is just come in and mandate a one-size-fit-all curriculum for everybody in that school. And we've done it even worse. We've done it for every kid in this nation. We've said, this is the way that you've got to learn. When we know, empirically we know that every kid learns differently.
And there are lots of teachers doing amazing things. It's just they eventually get worn down by lots of pushback. And so our hope for the film is that the teacher that is doing the amazing out-of-the-box things, when somebody says, well, we shouldn't be doing it this way, they can just point somebody to the film and say, well, watch this film and then come back and tell me that.
Do you guys address the issues of No Child Left Behind, and maybe we shouldn't have it?
Well, No Child Left Behind is just one transgression. Barack Obama doubled down on that with Race to the Top. So the kind of thinking that led to both of those policies needs to be rethought. And where I think we ought to begin is take a look at the skills that really matter in this new world that we're inheriting. And what I mean by that is, think about how valuable is it to memorize a bunch of facts and then spit them back to someone exactly as they gave them to you. Contrast that with the ability to think critically, to be creative, think about the ability to work well with others, to communicate.
Compete on the global level.
Well, these are things that we believe would allow you to compete on a global level, to have empathy and understanding of different cultures, to have a global worldview. These are things that are woefully missing in our nation's schools. We don't even address these. These are things, if they do get developed in our nation's schools, they get developed by accident, not by design.
The movie was really well received yesterday. I watched you shake hands with everybody. Is it being shown other places? How do you plan to spread the movie?
Well, it premiered at Sundance.
Okay.
We've had offers now for wider distribution, but we're going to work we're going to work as a partnership with other companies in order to roll this out community by community. If there are people that are interested in screening this movie, they can go to mltsfilm.org and they can request a community screener, and we'll work with them to organize a community screening. In addition to that, you'll be able to look forward to watching it on other traditional venues, cable TV, streaming outlets like Netflix, etc.
All right.
It was very nice talking to you.
This is just one final question for our outlet because we're nerds, so we have to ask. It's a reoccurring thing. As documentarians, if you could actually do something about superheroes, what would you do?
Do something about superheroes?
Yeah, like a documentary about superheroes. Any stories you would do there, or none at all?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm stumped.
I think a lot of our teachers are superheroes, and they often get slammed, but in dealing with 20 to 30 to 40 kids at a time for 7 hours a day, when kids are so used to seeing content like superheroes,
right,
and trying to keep their attention is really a demanding task. And I think we only make it so much worse for them when we say you've got to teach these kids something they'll never use. So those are my superheroes.
I would agree with that.
Batman.
Batman?
Oh, we got that firsthand last night. So
thank you very much, guys. Good luck
guys.
with the film.
Thank you.